Millions think they know what happens at Area 51. The mythology is carved in stone. Captured flying saucers, extraterrestrial cover-ups, and little green men. The facility serves a specific terrestrial purpose, pushing the absolute physical limits of aerospace engineering. Its mission centered on testing experimental designs, from high-altitude spy planes to the radar-deflecting geometry of the first stealth fighters. The need for a place like this emerged in 1955. The CIA was blind to the Soviet Union's military capabilities and required a way to look deep into hostile territory without being intercepted. To solve this, they launched Project Aquatone, an initiative to build an aircraft that could fly higher than any radar or missile could reach. Testing a top-secret experimental aircraft at a military facility like Edwards Air Force Base was impossible. Standard bases were highly populated, and foreign spies were constantly watching. The CIA required absolute, uncompromising isolation to hide their new technology. CIA Director Richard Bissell and Lockheed's lead designer, Kelly Johnson, scoured the American West for a location completely shielded from the public eye. They found their answer in the Nevada desert at a place called Groom Lake. It was a massive, perfectly flat, dry salt pan, heavily protected on all sides by rugged mountain ranges. Within months, a survey team laid out a 5,000-foot runway on the lakebed and directed a handful of rudimentary shelters. To convince engineers and workers to relocate to this desolate, sun-baked wasteland, Kelly Johnson gave the austere camp an ironically cheerful nickname, Paradise Ranch. The dry lakebed provided a flawless natural airstrip, while the surrounding peaks created an impenetrable geographic fortress. By combining these natural geological features with strict military secrecy, the government transformed an empty salt flat into a hyper-secure testing facility. The first major aerospace breakthrough at the site was the U-2 spy plane. It operated above 60,000 feet, an altitude that rendered the aircraft completely untouchable by Soviet radar and interceptor jets. This diagram shows the cruising altitudes of aircraft in the 1950s. Commercial airliners topped out around 20,000 feet, while the U-2 cruised at 60,000. During the early evening, the lower altitudes would be dark, but the U-2's silver titanium wings would catch the setting sun. To commercial pilots looking up, it looked like a fiery, fast-moving object. Relying purely on height eventually became a problem. Soviet surface-to-air missile technology rapidly advanced, and flying high was no longer a guarantee that a pilot would survive a mission. By the 1960s, the focus shifted from altitude to extreme speed. Under Project Oakhart, engineers developed the A-12, a titanium aircraft designed to simply outrun incoming missiles by flying at Mach 3. Testing an aircraft moving 3 times the speed of sound required the base to physically expand. Contractors built a new 10,000-foot runway diagonally across the lakebed and painted a massive visual abort spiral on the salt flat, known to pilots as the hook, giving them a safe way to bail out of a high-speed landing. The facility also had to house highly specialized infrastructure. To fuel these supersonic flights, engineers constructed enormous tank farms capable of holding 1.3 million gallons of JP-7, a unique jet fuel formulated specifically for extreme temperatures. The engineering physics required to evade the enemy had escalated. As designers pushed their aircraft to go faster and higher, the physical footprint of Groom Lake scaled up to support those expanding operations. Even at Mach 3, aircraft still triggered radar systems. Surface-to-air missiles were becoming too fast and too accurate to simply outrun. The military realized the only way to survive was to become completely invisible to detection. This led a testing team known as the Baja Scorpions to develop the Have Blue prototype and eventually the operational F-117 Nighthawk. By using flat, angular geometry, engineers learned how to deflect radar waves away from the receiver. Because the geometry of the aircraft was the exact secret to its radar deflection, the physical shape itself was highly classified. This forced the base to drastically alter its daily routine to keep the planes hidden from view. To get the airframes to the base, workers disassembled the stealth fighters, loaded them into massive C-5 Galaxy cargo planes, and flew them in exclusively under the cover of darkness. Once they were reassembled, the stealth planes were only rolled out and test-flown at night. This strict schedule ensured they could evade the gaze of Soviet reconnaissance satellites orbiting overhead. The logistical demands of radar invisibility necessitated that Groom Lake operate as a hyper-secure nocturnal hub. mastering the art of keeping an entire aerospace program hidden from orbital surveillance. As testing at the base became more complex, public obsession with alien conspiracies surrounding the facility exploded. Rather than fight the rumors, project veterans embraced them. They realized that wild theories about extraterrestrials were incredibly useful as an unintentional counterintelligence tool. The alien lore acted as a perfect smokescreen. It drew civilian and foreign attention entirely away from the multi-billion-dollar stealth technology that the government was actually developing right under their noses. The landscape around Groom Lake reveals the stark reality of the site's history. Decades of classified testing have left the region scarred, turning a remote desert into a field of cratered earth and high-security infrastructure. An empty salt swab was systematically mapped, paved, and wired by engineers pushing against the boundaries of physics. Through extreme secrecy and relentless trial and error, the aircraft built in this desert shaped the actual aerospace tactics used in modern combat.